So, can you believe it? Here I am, the guy from PBS, and I'm not going to talk about this. I will tell a couple PBS stories, but what I really want to focus on is how it's 4 tools that you can use to unlock your inner revolutionary. To be the person at work, at home, at school, at your volunteer organization, the person who breaks down barriers to change. Now, I imagine some of you must be thinking, why would I stick my neck out like that? Why would I become a revolutionary when most revolutionaries meet with an unhappy end? Well, in the world that we live in, a world that's changing at light speed, every organization needs a revolutionary, or more than one. But I hear you about the fear. I hear you about the risk. So the 4 principles I'm going to talk about today are principles that will allow you not only to be a revolutionary, but a diplomatic revolutionary. Or, to put it in PBS terms, how to turn Mr. Rogers into a rock star without getting fired. Now, how many of you grew up on Mr. Rogers or Sesame Street or any other PBS program? Wow, almost everybody. So you probably know that PBS has an incredible primetime lineup, Nova, Masterpiece, Frontline, you name it. And you might also know that almost all of those programs have been on the air for more than a quarter century. So how did we take a corporate culture that's so committed to excellence, but not so used to change, and take Mr. Rogers and do this to him?
Hi, neighbor. Welcome again to this neighborhood. I'd like to show you something. Do you ever imagine things? Are they scary things? Do you ever imagine things? Things you'd like to have? Did you ever see a cat's eyes in the dark and wonder what they were? Did you ever pretend about things like that before? Did you ever grow anything in the garden of your mind? You can grow ideas in the garden of your mind. It's good to be curious about many things. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think, and they'll grow.
That's a snippet. That's a snippet of a 3.5-minute video that we put on YouTube last summer. And without any marketing or promotion, within 2 days, it rose to become the most viewed and the most shared video on all of YouTube. More than 20,000 people posted comments. And they really fell into a couple categories. One was, I can't believe I cried man tears over this. The other was, I can't believe this is an official PBS production. So what are the 4 principles that we used to get our organization in a place where we could take the risk of having Mr. Rogers burst into song? First, in everything you do, make sure that you're tapping into both your left brain and your right brain. When we set out to change our organization, to reinvent our culture at PBS Interactive 3 years ago, what we really thought we were going to do is we wanted to become a startup. We wanted to have a startup mojo. We wanted to be faster moving. We wanted to take risks. We wanted to be creative. But what we quickly learned is that in an organization, that alone doesn't work. What we learned is we have to filter everything that we do on the right brain creative side through a really rigorous empirical left brain process. And the reason this is so critical is this. When you go to your boss and say, hey, I want to free my team to be more entrepreneurial, what your boss hears is, hey, I want to free my team to be undisciplined. So what we did at PBS was to really set out to be both right brain and left brain. And then let me move on to principle 2, which is kill the fear. If you're looking to change your organization, to turn it into something more entrepreneurial, you need to free yourself and free your team to be risk takers. Now, it sounds cliche, it is cliche, everybody says it, but it's an incredibly difficult thing to do. It's incredibly difficult. The way we set out to do this was we gathered the whole team in a conference room one day. We sat them down and we said, we're changing your annual performance review. We're adding a new metric, a failure metric. But it's a failure metric with a twist, and the twist is this: if you don't fail enough times during the coming year, you get downgraded. Well, the initial reaction was a lot of nervous laughter, especially from the engineers. But as time went by, and it took time, it took months, it took really a couple years, but as time went by, the idea behind this change really filtered through the organization, and you could see it in how people were approaching what they did on a day-to-day basis. And after a couple years, it led us to a place where we were able to auto-tune Mr. Rogers. Principle number 3. In order to change an organization, you have to be both radical and incremental. So what you need to do is start not with a revolution, but with an insurrection. Here's what we did. We went radical by rewriting the PBS Interactive mission statement to 2 words: reinvent PBS. Doesn't get much more radical than that, reinvent PBS. But we also went incremental by launching one disruptive product, an online video platform that totally changed people's perception of what PBS should look like, of what a PBS website should look like. Now, the press liked it. The Twitter sphere liked it. When's the last time you heard PBS called sick nasty? And we were on our way. The 4th principle: make sure your revolution serves at least one key stakeholder. When we launched that sick nasty site, the press and the audience were focused on the fact that it's got this edgy design that doesn't look like PBS. And how cool is that? The PBS board of directors was all abuzz about the back-end infrastructure. Because the back-end platform cured a big pain point for our owners, the local PBS stations. It gave them the ability to promote their local videos side by side with Frontline, NewsHour, and all the other programs. So it was this great gift to our owners, the stations, wrapped up in this edgy, disruptive bow. So those are the 4 principles. And let me just say that the payoff for PBS has been more than just a couple of viral videos. In the 3 years since we've been working to adopt these principles, video views on PBS.org and the PBS mobile apps have risen 7,700%. On the kids' side, if you look at all the kids' websites across the country, Disney, Nick, all the rest, and look at all the views, all the time spent watching video on those sites, a full 40% of all time watching video on kids' websites is on pbskids.org. So it's been a huge payoff. Now let me close with one thought. I've spent a lot of time talking about how to apply these 4 principles in the work environment, but really they're universal. They're ones that you can adopt in your work life, but also at home, at school, anywhere. Use these principles. Use them to become the revolutionary of your own life. If PBS can do it, so can you. Thank you.